curious if you can tell people some takeaways, because look, I think it's super helpful that we talked about ourselves here, because I think sometimes that can be extremely didactic as opposed to talking about the state of being or the cause and effect or what people should do. But I'm guessing there's men and maybe women listening to this that still don't know where to start. Now, you gave people 3 really good things earlier as far as, your physical and working out and going into the shadow, and then also your self-talk. I think those are all really, really important. But for someone out there who just really feels lost, who looks at that dating scene and they see a pool of women that have these crazy expectations, they can get immediate affirmation online by posting any picture. I have Sadia on as a guest sometimes, and she just talks about how a woman can get immediate validation on social media from men all over the world. It's something we can't get as men. And then, of course, men can turn on the porn and really have a relationship with any type of woman around the world. And these two people are doing that. We're getting further and further apart. Now, whether you agree with everything she says, that's up to you, but she has points there. If you're a man in this situation, what are some of the things you can tell them to do to go forward? And then also, if you could tell people how they can also follow you and learn more about your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so what I would just start with is get off the dating apps, get off the dating apps. They're really brutal for a lot of men. And if you're not in that top sort of like 5 to 10% of guys who is just, and you'll know it, right? You'll know whether or not you are that guy. And both of them have pros and cons, like the guys that are in the top 5, 10%, having commitment is pretty hard because you know how much optionality you have. And it's like going to Cheesecake Factory where you've got a freaking menu that's 12 pages deep and you're like, what the hell do I want to eat? I'm starving. I want to eat all of these. And so you never commit to a single choice and it becomes almost paralyzing, right? It's a choice paradox. So, whether you clean house on there or whether you don't, I would say get off the dating apps. It's one of the first things that I would do. The second thing that I would do is I would reorient my life towards designing and building myself into somebody that I respected. It's one of the best things that I've done for myself. I did not respect who I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't like who I was because I was making decisions that were terrible. And so I would really start to direct a lot of the energy and attention that most of us are putting out online, right? That are putting out on these social media platforms and dating apps, constantly swiping through, hoping that somebody will just give you a conversation or a date. I would redirect a lot of that energy towards building myself into a man that I actually liked and respected. Because then at the very least, when I start to date, when I start to have more conversations with women, I'll have a sense of my own gut, my own inner voice that says, oh no, she's not for me. Or, oh yeah, I think there actually might be something there. And that's lacking for a lot of modern men today. I think the other thing that I would do is, like I said before, really start to understand your innate fears of women and your innate bias, like biased stories about women. Anytime that you say all women, it's probably not true. It's probably a representation of how you operate and feel internally and the sort of animosity that you might be carrying. So those pieces, and then get out, like go into social situations, build your social situations. There are a ton of men's groups and, men's organizations that are out there. We have something called the ManTalks Alliance. We've got almost 1,000 guys from all over the world that are doing this type of work. And those men are fathers, they're leaders, they're husbands, they're business owners, they're entrepreneurs. They're guys just, driving garbage trucks, and it's just every walk of life, but they're supporting one another and challenging one another. And so, I think the reason why I say this is that we've under-indexed and undervalued how much women look at the men that we surround ourselves with. That is a sign to a woman of a high value, high status man, the quality of the man that you surround yourself with. So surround yourself with better men. It doesn't mean that you have to you know, that you have to eradicate the guys that you spend Friday nights with and go bowling with and that kind of stuff. But it does mean that you start to elevate the level of the men that you surround yourself with. And so really, really prioritize that. That will fundamentally change your life. And then where you can find me is just ManTalks everywhere. ManTalks, ManTalks on Instagram, on YouTube, mantalks.com. That's pretty much me everywhere.
Love it. That's amazing advice. I couldn't agree more. And look, I'm an introvert naturally. I have to push myself to get into social situations. So if that's you, I get it, but just start small and do it. And also, all introverts know that when you do stay home for the night, you always feel a little stupid. And so get out there and try it, even if it's a one person or two person. Even if you go to the gathering for 10 minutes and duck out, you can condition yourself to doing it. And that's where all the good stuff happens. That's where character is built. That's where relationships happen. I agree, get off those apps, because one interaction in real life is worth 100 interactions on an app. And if you can actually make an interaction in real life, it builds all that good stuff, the self-esteem and all that. So maybe there's hope, Connor. We're definitely gonna need more people like you, and we're gonna have to push hard on this narrative if we wanna make sure we can create the men that this world needs. So thanks for doing what you do. I'd love to have you back sometime and continue this conversation. I think this is going to help a lot of people to have these talks, and to know also that all men need to explore these issues. And I need to as well, you know, and I need to constantly be exploring these things, because there's constantly things that are coloring my view of the world and that are causing me to bring the wrong behaviors to all sorts of situations and to manifest things that don't serve me. And there's a ton going on there, regardless of all the work that I've done. And it's funny, because I went to an ayahuasca ceremony last year, and it had been 5 or 6 years. And I knew I needed to go, but it's always hard to go because it's always challenging. And my martial arts instructor was like, why are you going, Brian? And I said, I'm going to create the man that I need to be 5 years from now for my community, for my family. I'm going to create that man, the man that needs to be a better leader, that needs to be a more congruent person. So I'm going to go do this thing that's going to be hard. It's probably going to suck. It's really unknown, because I know it's going to create the man that I need to be in the future. And that's why I'm going back next month, because I know if I don't do that, I'm not going to be who I want to be and who I need to be for the people around me. So for everybody out there, I'm still putting in the work, and by no means have it figured out or where I really want to be. And so I encourage everybody to go out there and do those things too, for sure. Connor, thanks so much. I really appreciate this conversation.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
All right, great stuff. Thank you, everybody. Follow this man. We'll see you next time on London Real. Bye.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside, I view, is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the investment club.